Hello everybody. I don't have my face camera set up the same way as usual. Possibly I'll be able to offer an alternative. Actually, hold on just a sec. I think I left the water running. Sorry about that. And I worked so hard to not touch this beforehand and not let cats touch it. And here we are. Alright, where? Yeah, that got moved a lot, I think. Sorry about that. Hopefully I'm not making anyone too dizzy. But alas, I have to be able to see it on my screen to be able to fix it, so I have to show it on your screen. I see Clavicus, Russian Blue Art, Row GR, Quindy, of course. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Let's get a little more light on the situation. So last week I was working on this figure, which I have dubbed the Pandowl Bear. I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out. We haven't done the eyes, but I worked just a little more on the talons and the beak after I finished the stream last week. But I mean, I did the bulk of that on stream. So if you watched last week's videos, all the colors and stuff are there. And in fact, all the colors for the whole figure, because I had to do touch up on the shiny raven wing parts. And I had hoped to also do some finishing touches on this guy. He has like skin membranes, but that didn't happen. Maybe today, who knows. This guy, actually, this is from a little while ago. I was just using him to test the color and the camera position and stuff, but also fun. Dire cabbage, very fun. I do hope to get back to that. It's green. Maybe that would be a fun, like St. Patrick's Day figure to work on. So what do I want to do today? A question that plagued me until rather later in the process than one might have expected. So I guess I was just having one of those days. If you've been here before, you know I like to be honest about like the process and whatnot. Hold on, I'm looking for my glue. And I'm not finding my glue, and that is an eventuality I did not plan for. Because I have a nice fresh glue. So this is the Ron and other people at Reaper turned me on to this after I whined to him when I was assembling my Bones 4, Bones 5 guys, and he's like, well, do you use such and such? And I'm like, no, I do not. I'll try it. And I tried it and was very happy. So I have a couple of the, I believe they call it fun size mouselings, and I did check, and these are on the web store. So these were in the Kickstarter, the most recently fulfilled Kickstarter, but they are now on the web store. And I actually, this guy, and now I'm trying to remember if he was big or if he was regular size, was one of the ReaperCon figures for 20, 22, 21, I don't know. One year he was a ReaperCon figure, and I painted him. So if you look up Mouselings on the web store, you will see a picture of him. So I thought about doing him again in maybe a different color scheme, or maybe kind of the same color scheme, but just with the paints I have. But I also have this little thiefly one. And I dipped both of these, all the sprues and things, in rubbing alcohol before I began. But I thought, I don't do a lot of like assembly and those steps. So I thought it might be nice to do that on screen. So I picked Mouselings because I was wrestling with what to do, and there were things I wanted to do, but we need to do this, and then there were things, oh, I don't know why I have that. You know, any idea that I came up with, either I felt I wanted to be more prepared to be able to talk to you a little more about it, or there was some other reason I didn't want to do it. So sometimes when you're in the mood, I think it's helpful to just paint something you're really just going to enjoy instead of adding on. It's not a great time to start practicing the most difficult techniques or paint a subject of miniature you don't love. It's a good time, just like you watch comfort TV or whatever, comfort miniatures. And I have always loved the mouselings. Apologies for that. You know what? Maybe I should just take the sound off while I'm all crinkly. Quindy is very helpfully including links to this guy on his own, which I think it's metal, isn't it? Quindy is 4040. And then the fun size set is 19503. And there are two others. Let's see. I got a wizard and a fighter, and this is an archer, I think. And Quindy has confirmed that the version of this guy that's solo, which I think he's Dusk Warden something, he's supposed to be like a witch hunter. He looks so funny without the little hat. But anyway, so you don't have to have these kinds of things, which people also often call screw cutters. The ones I use are actually called Xeron close cutting shears, but I think ultra close cutting shear. They sometimes, like at the train store, they'll call them track cutters or something. But what I like about these is like they close flat on that side, so you get a clean cut on whatever side that item is. Pendrick says, I wish the regular mouselings were bigger. Fun size is okay. Yes, honestly, I would love if all the mouselings were done in that size. I mean, back in the day, they all came out in metal, and that would have been like crazy expensive. But it would be fun if they could do it now. Who knows? I don't know how well that set is selling to tempt Reaper to do more. But these are like perfect figures, the mouselings, I think, for if you're trying to introduce kids or spouses, other people who maybe don't know a lot about miniatures. They're nice, big, open circle. I mean, the eyes are a lot bigger compared to, a normal human figure miniature. It's just, I think they're not non-threatening. They're more accessible. Like they seem like something that is more feasible to paint, because people always get stuck on the size thing when you try to propose painting to them. They're like, but it's so small. How do you do it? So it helps to ease them in a little, I figure. I use a knife for some of this. I'm not necessarily recommending you do that or suggesting that you should do what I'm doing. Reaper is definitely not suggesting that you should do what I'm doing, but I figured I would show what I'm doing. I just, make sure I get my finger right in the way so that I can slice it off. And then if there's a little bit extra that won't, the foot won't fit in the base here, or some of the other parts, I'm trying to decide whether to care about any of the mold lines. And I'm going to show, actually, this is a piece that fits into the base. So just in case it would affect the fit, this is how I like to do mold lines on bone figures. So I think of it like if you were paring potatoes or carrots or something. But you just want to get like a little bit under that mold line. Like it was a piece of peel. Are these guys actually hard enough to scrape? I'm not sure they are. So when I can scrape, I like to scrape. I didn't get under that little mold line as much as I would have liked. And then these places, that is hard to use a knife, even for scraping. So an alternative, these are sanding needles. So it's like plastic covered in a fine grit. It does eventually wear down. I mean, eventually. It's not like it takes 1,000 years or something. It does wear down. You get them in a pack with multiple ones. I believe it's Alpha something is the company, and they're not like always on Amazon, but they are on Amazon sometimes. And I think they probably are always at Micromark. But you can also get fine grit diamond files to work. The trick is just using a very light hand. So like, you know, I have fragile, sensitive skin in mine. You guys know what I like to say, right? Someone in chat, what do I like to say? Hopefully it is weird enough to have stuck in your head as a guideline for how much pressure to use with the file. Now, just a diamond file, I don't think you can make the crisscross type files work. So that's how you get in between like fingers and little places like that. I'm not necessarily going to bother with that. I just wanted to demonstrate it. But I do want to make sure that the head fits on into the cavity. Queenie says like grating a baby or something. Wow, that is not how I put it. Like you could do it to a baby's face and it wouldn't hurt them at all. Like that's how gentle of pressure you're using. Don't do it to a baby's face. Definitely don't grate a baby. But that's the kind of pressure to think of using. Queenie says close enough. You can tell that Queenie and I are both like super into children and have very many of them. So there's a little bit remaining from where it came off that sprue. I don't think it's affecting the fit, but this is something that I very much recommend when you're putting together like multi-part figures, which is like I try to avoid it as a rule because I am lazy, as you all may know. But I know that it's intimidating to people. When I worked in a game store, we had like all the Reaper miniatures. Clavicus says, tested on a baby, gotcha. And sometimes people would come in and they'd be like, well, I want an elf that's doing this or a dwarf that's doing that. And I'm like, okay, well, so we've got these Dark Heaven ones here. But if you're willing to put things together, there's a whole lot of options over in the Warlord figures. And very rarely could I persuade someone to purchase a figure that required any assembly. Like when people complain about the bases, I'm like, yeah, having worked in a game store, there are some people who do not want to deal with a lot of bases. It is more of a contentious issue than it would seem for how you appeal to people. Because some people are like, oh, I hate built-in bases. And I've been there because sometimes you need to chop them off. And depending on the base, that is a massive pain in the butt. Green User said, I needed a good laugh. Thank you. I maybe am not going to let Quindy take over my How to Prep Miniatures class. People are going to be out there grating babies. So it looks a little weird, and maybe I will paint this one instead of the other one today. And hopefully we will see that once the paint goes on, it's not going to look so weird. But that I felt like that mold line, just the way that yours was, that was kind of noticeable. But you want to dry fit. So you want to test everything before you actually get the glue out and start putting the glue on things. Sometimes even when you do that, it still doesn't turn out like you've had to, sometimes you have to paint things separated. That was one reason I did not pick the warrior guy, because I wasn't sure if like his little shield arm would have to be added later for greatest convenience. But I've had things where, so you see how the base has indentations in it. You can do that if you make your own bases. Like you just get the miniature and you lightly press it onto the base while the putty isn't fully cured, and you can make marks and get the feet to kind of settle in more, because you want them to look like there's really gravity affecting them and that, you know, their feet are pressing down on the ground. So I'll do this and I'll have everything will seem fine in the dry fit stage, and then I'll paint stuff and I'll start putting it together, and there'll be these little gaps and things. And I mean, if it's contest miniature, then you just have to fix it, and that's how life is. But it certainly avoids some problems to look at it in advance. I am Turjan. Amazon calls them alpha abrasives plastic sanding needles, 320 grit fine item 0403. So one of these is like fine, and one of them is extra fine, or one of them is medium, and I think this is the one with the finer grit, the white. And I usually use the blue ones, but they both work. Yeah, Alpha Abrasives. That does sound like the same company that I've bought them from before. Because the other ones I see, they kind of, it's like a foam core. It's kind of like an emery board with a foam core. And those are a bit bendier, so I don't know. I like the solid stick. Reaper Miniatures is reminding people that are anywhere near Denton, Texas, to come hang out at the Reaper Game Store Paint Club. And the times are listed in chat, and you can also find more information at reapergamestore.com. Pendrake, I wish certain minis were multi-part, particularly minis with major pieces that need different paint jobs. Yeah, it's interesting now that the miniatures are 3D printing, that they can print stuff in one piece that maybe we don't want to paint in one piece. But, I mean, most of the time, if you can't reach it, people can't see it. There are certainly very significant exceptions to that rule. And there are times when it's easier. Hi, what's up? I know you want to have fun, and I'm not being fun enough today. No jumping on the desk. Hi. That is one of the little kittens. Pendrake, you must have gotten a multi-pack with different grits. No, I bought 2 packs. One white, one blue. I think way back in the day when Bones first came out, I did a couple of what are these bones things and how do you use them classes at ReaperCon. Hi. Hi, Tragic. Here, let's see if it works now. Hold on. Nope. See, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're trying to come to the forbidden zone. Look at this lovely place to sleep that I made you. Hi. Yeah, I know, you're perky. I tried to play with them a little bit before and to wear them out, but this one takes a lot of wearing out, and I didn't have that much time. Hello? No, I can't play with you right now, baby. I'm sorry. I know I suck. I know the other one plays independently better. Nope, you're very determined to do the bad thing. Come here. Let's see. Can we tempt you over here with a toy? Look at that awesome toy. Check him out. No. Hello. See, we can make the cat even bigger. We make the back of the cat, the super exciting part, even bigger. Hey, you're going to get locked out of the room. Hi. What if you didn't destroy your face on this? What about that? There we go. So helpful. It's the kitten petting stream. Says Granny, yes. Hi, Crazy. Yeah, stare at everybody on the internet. You're very famous now. We tried setting up a second, a second iPhone, essentially. And after he got through all the setup part, and then we got to a point where it says, we turned this one on, and they're like, well, you only have one. I'm like, okay, well, I think I have to have the paint one. And then we'll have to figure out a different way for Kitty. So what I did was just swap how I arrange my desk. Normally I have kind of my side shelf thing on the right, so it's closer to my speaker, so I'm less likely to turn my head away and have the sound fade out. But that might happen today because I prioritized looking at this gorgeous cat. Well, actually, I expected her sister to sit there. There's her sister. She's a little more chill. And she can entertain herself better. Like, she has these tiny little pom-pom balls. And she'll just throw those around and carry them up and down the stairs and play with them. This one, like, I tried various automated toys. and whatnot. And it's like, no, if you aren't working to make it happen, I am not entertained. It's like, God, seriously, sometimes I have to do other things. Why is your sister better at this? All right, because cats seem like they want to walk on the desk, I'm going to put the knife away. They are so cute. And this is probably why they're getting away with nonsense, isn't it? Oh, now you're going to be all cute and sleepy, too. I feel like I should angle you closer to the camera, but I'm pretty sure you would jump up and start yelling at us again if I tried that. If we're lucky, her sister might come and sleep with her, because they do snuggle up sometimes. They don't always. They're like bonded, but they're not codependent, I guess is how I've been thinking of it. Like they'll go do their own thing. I'm like, yeah, I like my sister, but she doesn't have to be here. Zachariah, we saw the sister walk by. Yeah, I thought I heard someone munching on crunchies in the background, because I have a little crunchy dish in here and a water dish. Do I have to do something to open this? Yes. It's to puncture nozzle, turn cap until clicking sound stops. Okay. Apparently it's been a minute since I got a new one of these. But that keeps it nice and fresh, hopefully. Because that's one of these things that I find people aren't as aware of in the hobby. Is that, miniatures last a long time. And if you take care of your paints, they can last a long time. But anything else that's like a chemical, it kind of has an expiry date. And that expiry date is usually, 1 to 3 years. And people do not realize that they have to replace things more often than that. Which is, I get it. It's annoying. Like, why do you want to keep buying the same thing over and over again? But, like, I started dating my glue, and I can pretty much tell, like, not this one, but my 2-part epoxy. If I start getting frustrated and it's not working, it's like, oh, I bet it's old. I bet it's old, and it's time for me to go buy a new one. Pendrake, new show title, Beyond the Kit, Teaching Cats to Paint. I like to try to teach cats not to paint themselves, at least. That's mainly what I'm going for, is not having multicolored cats. I mean, other than how nature has provided them to be multicolored. Alright, I'm just looking for a toothpick. So, I like to do this. People will just spritz the glue right on here, and then you get like a whole bunch of glue. Quinn, I think you mean Beyond the Kitty. Oh gosh. I have to see if I can make it Beyond the Kitty. Little logo now. Zachariah, dating your glue isn't helpful. They think that once you take them out for dinner and date, it's a permanent relationship. Well, that is another problem. Yes. So I find that you can control how much you're getting where better if you use like a little side dish, as it were. This is one reason that I keep my blister packs, because they are perfect for this. If I were smart, I would have dry fitted this once more before I started putting the glue on, so that you can see where to put the glue on. I do at least see, I don't know, there's a tiny little cat hair, so we're going to get rid of that at least. And these are really nice. The way the bones are constructed, they make the socket and the join so that you can't really get it wrong. Zachariah, what no groans? Beyond the Kitty, we're dating glue, we're grading babies. What's going on today? I would like to put my drink over there, but that is exactly where a cat is going to want to be naughty again. I'll put it here. All right. So I'm going to put the arm on next. Also on the weird glue facts that you may or may not know, super glue kind of like starts to set really quickly compared to something like, the 2-part epoxies. But it actually takes 24 hours to fully cure. this is a big chunky thing with big chunky pieces and it's not metal, so I'm not really concerned that the pieces are about to fall off. But if you're putting together like dragon wings or somebody really heavy, that is just something to keep in mind. Whereas that 5-minute epoxy stuff, it takes 5 minutes to start to set, and yes, you have to hold it the whole 5 minutes. But then after an hour, it's fully done. So when I'm in a rush and I'm working on something, I use that stuff, not super glue. Wow, these are some persistent cat hairs that I have. That's probably Corbin hairs. He has those fluffy hairs that waft through the breeze. I don't know that we'll be seeing him on cat cam. He doesn't hang out with me that much. He might come in and eat or check out what they're doing. They're getting along okay, but he's still kind of like, what are these guys? What am I supposed to do? How does this work? So even with the putting the glue on the way I do method, sometimes you'll see a little bit spread out, like, because it's a really nice close join. So I just get a different toothpick and rub it off. But it's nice because it's gap filling too. Zachariah has noticed that dry weather makes glue perform worse too. That's interesting. Wintertime tends to be a bit longer for super glue to set. Well, that's true. If you don't have accelerator, which I never do, and you're trying to get stuff to go faster, you can breathe on it, and the moisture from your breath is going to accelerate the. I mean, I took too long. That's just an example, but maybe I will do that before I slam those feet in there. So moisture does make super glue set faster. Corbin, I don't know if he's trying to be aloof. I think he's just, when he was the young cat, the other two varied from I hate you, go away to I will grudgingly tolerate your presence. There was not really any playing or mutual grooming or any of that. So we wanted to be friends, but he didn't really have any good examples of how to do it. So I think he's just trying to puzzle them out. It's so far outside of his experience because, I didn't do it. He's used to cats yelling at you and hating you. And they're kind of like, whatever, dude, you can play if you want. So we've got him playing adjacent to them now. But I can't get him to play with the same toy at the same time. Even with the two of these guys, it's like one will jump in front of the other one. All right, so the other nice part about this is now I can just throw this away. In fact, let's do that. We got cats wandering around. Let's actually throw it away. Sometimes I will let it, dry out and then use it again. But now is probably not the time for that. It feels like, yeah, there was a little piece of lint stuck in the belt buckle. So that's a pretty cool little mouse thing. And now can I attach it to a base? I know you want to sit in that spot, and she's there. If you go over her, there's another. Okay, bye. Chai is not going to be hanging out with us today, right? Cooler weather will make other things take longer to cure too, like resin. If you do like resin water pours and stuff. It takes much longer to cure when it's cool. All right, now we have a dashing, roguish, fun size mousling. I guess I should have brought a regular size one over so that people who hadn't seen them before could see the difference. I had one in my case too. Yes. Yes, I do. Little pirate, I think. So he's not like annoyed with them or whatever. I think he just, I don't know. He's having trouble accommodating the idea more than I thought. Like the first few weeks, he just went with denial. Like he would just look at them and like, no, and walk away. It's like, I don't think that's gonna work, buddy. I think that I think you're gonna have to acknowledge their existence at some point. He likes their food better. They were eating a different dry food when they came, so we got some of that, and I don't think he didn't need the 5 days or whatever they say to switch him over to new food. He was like, no, I like this stuff. You don't have to bother with that stupid old food anymore. It's like, of course you like the more expensive food. That tracks. Oh, well, this was the one that I had the size on. That was for an old palette. We won't worry about that. See, I'd written. Oh, you can't see. That's right. There's no palette cam. I can go back to palette cam if I do anything super exciting. Or if anyone in the chat feels like they would much rather see a palette than a gorgeous sleeping kitty, let me know. Wow, that little blue toy sure looks blue on camera, doesn't it? I would take it from her, but I'm pretty sure that would activate the insanity. So I'm just going to use the colors from the Learn to Paint sets. So there's Learn to Paint Kit, Core Skills, Learn to Paint Kit, Layer Up, and then each of those has an expansion set of paints. And I have those off to the side, and I'm just going to use that. So I figure that you like kind of, I like dark blue as a color for rogues instead of just black, but we'll see. We got to do the fur for first. If I make the fur black as well, then that's when rogues become challenging. You have room for the palette in your subject cam, perhaps, so we can have it all. Sometimes the other camera will not focus on the miniature, so we'll try it. But if it decides it doesn't want to focus on the miniature, I won't move it back again. So this is one of those areas where what makes sense for what is attractive to look at versus what would the character do are not necessarily going to be the same things. But, why would we assume that only dark-furred mice are going to go into the rogue business, right? So it can be like a tan fur mouse. Plus, if it's a little orangey and I do blue somewhere, which I'm sure I will, then we got color complements, and that is good. That will help the fur stand out, which in this case is the face, is making the face of the figure stand out. So that's like a greeny brown. We don't want that. These are more, yeah, that's a nice orangey brown. That will look nice with blue. And probably just use that for shading. I hate that, when you get super glue on your fingers and then, it just doesn't feel right. I find that distracting. I don't think I did a lot, though, so hopefully I won't be too distracted. But yes, I have not yet resumed regular painting because we're still getting all the kitties settled in and whatnot. And I'm trying to figure out how to teach them. So I have 4 desks that are put together, and they're all different kinds of desks. But I'm pretty sure to a cat brain, that's just one big flat surface, right? How would you distinguish the difference between that desk and the other desk? So how do I teach them, please don't go on this desk? I have not yet puzzled that out. And my attempts have been very unsuccessful. They're like, what? Don't stand right here where I want to stand right now? What? I can't hear you. That's what I get. I think I like this brush. This is actually a Winsor Newton brush. Cotman is their student watercolor line, but this brush is dumb. It's dumb. I was just trying to do something rough earlier this week. Not painting something, I was doing like color swatches. And it didn't even work for that. It was like, okay. That's a pretty lame brush right there. So the other thing I may want to do is just get some dark color in these places that cannot easily be reached. And just looking for my good buddy, blue liner. No, it's here somewhere. You're correct. Pointing a finger to place tells the cat where not to stand. Well, I haven't been doing that. I've just been going, no, don't. And then I come and take them off and put them down on the ground or on another part of the thing they're allowed to go on. And then they just walk back over to the thing I told them not to go on. And one of the other desks, I had a permanent photo set up for taking pictures of miniatures. And I had left the cube up when they first got here. And of course, then there was just a cat standing in the cube, putting their hair all over that. And so I took the cube away. So I don't have that set up either. I'm thinking I probably will have to just leave the rest of the setup and put the cube there and not there when I want to take pictures. I'm not saying none of the other cats ended up in there too, because I absolutely have pictures of Ella and possibly Archer standing inside the cube. It was just they'd go there and they'd be like, well, this is dull, and not do it again. Where I do not feel like this will be the response of little kittens, at least not for a while. Okay, they're not little kittens. They're like 9 months old, but everything looks small compared to Corbin. I saw this completely insane gadget on Indiegogo. It looks like one of those litter boxes with like a door, but kind of like an anus instead. But what it actually is supposedly to comb them or pet them, so they go in and out, and these things kind of contract and constrict and pet them or comb them. It's like, yes, totally not weird. I think Indiegogo is for crowdfunding for kind of mad inventor people, but says that dogs understand pointing for the most part and cats don't, has always been interesting. Sometimes cats understand what you're saying, they just don't give a crap. They're like, but I want to do that thing. Why would I listen to you? So I think sometimes what they don't understand is the concept of doing what you say. Now, I was watching that Jackson Galaxy guy a little bit. And I think he did make a good point about this. The way he put it is every no needs a yes. So if you're trying to get them not to do things, there have to be other things that you are allowing them to do that are similar. So like if you don't want them to scratch this thing, you have to have some other thing where they want to scratch so that they will scratch that. I mean, does this make sense? What is that? I think it's probably the back of his little, I don't know what they call that. And then that is just a support. So that's all getting, don't look at it because I don't want to figure that out, blue liner. That's 1,000. Direct my attention where you want, not likely. Yes. I mean, hopefully the blue liner is going to work, but it's not going to work on cats. I think I got a big drop of water in there. So I will take from that side. And it's going to blend with the blue liner a bit. And that's okay. I can probably make the shadows that way. But there might be a few places I have to fix. Are you sneezy? No. Okay. I'm trying to watch them. I feel like one of them had a little coughing fit a few days ago. And apparently cats can get asthma, so it's something to watch for. So I'm just trying to watch out. And the other sign of it is, I learned, this is not Jack and Galaxy. There's this guy called Helpful Vancouver Vet, and he had this video that went viral that was called Smush That Cat, for how you kind of hold them when you're trying to do stuff, and it makes them feel more comfortable and stuff. And he's just like a super nice guy. But weirdly, like the day after she had the little sneezing fit, this guy posted a video after not having posted for a long time about cat asthma. So I was like, okay, because I was like trying to find a video of like cat versus, or cough versus sneeze, and just see what it was that had happened. And he said a short-haired cat should only have like a real hairball, you know, where they have the gunky, like an owl pellet, but a hairball, once a year. I'm like, wow, okay. And then a long-haired cat might have it 3 times a year. So I figure Corbin's going to be somewhere in the middle. And that's, but if they have more frequent genuine hairballs, that can be a sign of asthma as well. And you can totally give them little kitty inhalers. Hey, Barnsema 1146. Today I am painting a fun size mouseling from a Reaper pack. They also have a great number of regular size mouselings in all kinds of different careers, I guess. Job, you know, like there's a princess and a beekeeper and like all the, you know, there's warrior, monk, wizard, all the standard type class ones, but then also some alternative fun professions. I don't know if these guys would work for, is it Humblewood, I think just came out or got added to D&D Beyond, and it's got all kinds of, you know, critter races that you can play in D&D. Well, I think it's its own setting. Quindy is sharing a link that will show you all of the mouselings that are in the store. And I forgot momentarily that mice have skin. Okay, bye. Tell your sister to come in and be cute. We'll switch back to palette cam until that happens. Her sister really likes the naps, so I would expect that it will happen. I mean, she runs around and has fun too, but this one is very energetic. Like, very energetic. It's like, oh my gosh, dude, I can't. Like, I enjoy playing with you, but this long every day, it's a lot. It's a lot. All right, so what I would want to do with this skin is try to make it not very orangey, because that's what we're doing on the fur. So I might add just a little wafer thin mint of red to make it a bit pinkier. This is dragon red in this case. Make it a bit pinkier of a skin. I did say just a little bit. This is one of those things where you want to go conservatively until you see what it looks like. So this is making it like closer to rosy skin, or probably rosy skin shadow. And then where did I add that? That dark skin, yeah, ebony flesh. I probably won't go that dark, but okay. I had all the paints turned upside down, and I can tell because they really want to drip. But I also want to pink this up just a little. And actually, I'm less conservative with shadows. You can get away with some color in a shadow. That stupid water drop is there again. I have such a problem with that. Does anyone in the chat, please make me feel better. I'll get a water drop on the ferrule, and then I'll go down to my paint and dilute it more than I want. It's super annoying. And this seems to always happen. So now I have to make my pinky skin again. Hi, would you like to go back to sleep? You would not. Would you like to ask Kevin to entertain you briefly? But now we can see the difference between the original color. That one. I was trying to see if it's time for their dinner, actually. Hi, Crazy. What's up? Zachariah is always doing that, but he's driven nuts by it. Thank you for telling me I'm not alone. I feel better. Zachariah, I've gotten to the point now that I shake off the brush after I rinse. Could I get that to work? Right, I know I had light paint brushes. I know, sweetie, but I cannot play with you right now. I know. Go tell your sister to be fun. No? Okay. They sound so pitiful. I mean, I think that's just how they sound, but it's kind of hilarious. They have these squeaky little meows. Hi, Squeaky Meow. Why don't you come back and have a nap? No, not play with a paintbrush. That was a dumb thing for me to do. You are correct. Hi, what are you staring at? I don't trust you. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Hi. There you go. There's a different bed. Feel free to enjoy that. Oh, I think we can go back to cat cam. I think she's back for a little while. Reluctantly. She would far rather be chasing... I know. You want to chase the laser or the mouse on a stick. Any of those things would be way better than just watching me be boring. Oh my goodness. How have you survived this long with your life being so boring? Oh, that looks like another place I should just stick some blue liner in case. Speaking of, I'll slap a little more of the fur color on so it will have time to dry. She's going to start doing something naughty and you guys are going to be laughing because I won't see it. You'll see it before I do. Pendrick, I think so Pendrick said that might be why we like them cute noises. Apparently they don't meow to each other. The meowing is communication with us, and sounding like babies is part of the success of that. We feel more compelled to respond to them. Except like last night when I'm sleeping and she's wandering around making these little squeaky noises. I'm like, is something actually wrong, or are you just trying to get me to get up and play with you? Because it's like, we don't play at this time of night. We sleep. But then, and then in the morning, she'll come and she like pokes me in the face or sticks her foot under the blanket, trying to get me to be interesting. It's like, dude. This she will learn, because I have very successfully taught cats not to annoy me while I'm trying to sleep. Do they annoy my husband? Yes, because he gets up and does things for them. But that is one game I'm not going to play. I let them run the show most of the time, but not when I'm trying to sleep. There's like a little bit of hilt showing, and I'm going to choose not to care about that. This is not... I'm going to hope that nobody's going to go, ooh, look at that spot. That should be a different color. They very likely will not. Zachariah. Generally true, although I've had cats who call to each other in the same meow that they talk to you with. My cats mostly just yell at each other, so that definitely was not the same meow. They do the little hello thing, the little purr, purr. They run in the room and do that sometimes, which is super adorable. If I decide the skin is too pink later, I think I will be able to address that. But I don't think we're really going to have a good impression of what the fur looks like until some like washes and whatnot. Probably things that I should not be doing this before. But yet here we are. Zachariah. If one was missing, we'd get the mama cat to follow us. She'd call and the lost cats would come to her. She wasn't really anyone's mom, just the oldest, and she would mother them all. Aw, so cute. This is why I got sisters, because I'm like, you know what? The idea of cats that don't hate each other is a novelty I would like to explore. Oh, I wish I could get the microphone down there, because now she's snoring. I guess she was more tired than she thought she was. Lighten this up a little more to contrast with the fur. Did you just wake yourself up? Yeah, you did. They're just hilarious. They make me laugh all day long. And cuddly and adorable. But definitely still at the phase where they're a little extra work. Put a bit more of that red down in the mouth joint. when I was listening to paints, I am using blue liner, which is not in one of the Learn to Paint kit sets or expansions. But it is a very important color that everybody should have, in my opinion. We are going to test now, while that fur dries, whether we mix a nicer shadow color with the blue liner. And I think we might not. So adding complementary colors can be a good way to darken a color and to make it less saturated, which is generally speaking what you want for shadows. But this is kind of, there's enough yellow in here that this is going greenish. And oh, hold on, let's go back to this camera for a minute. Even go close up. So this is going a bit greenish, and I don't think that looks great. I think that using the ebony flesh, nice warmer color, will make a better kind of wash shadow for that orange, which is woodland brown. I'll just put a little bit beside it. I'm not sure that that's helping it up, so let's do this. Get a piece of paper. So this is the ebony flesh. Nice warm brown. I'll thin out just a little more. And this is a color that I mixed by making blue liner. I'll add a little more orange even. Or woodland brown. So it works, but in this particular context, I don't think that's the color I want. I think I want something more like that. But it is dark enough that I think maybe we just mix a little bit of that woodland brown in. Then I'll do a wash and then see if there are some. So the wash is going to be a great way to pick out, see how the much nice sculpted fur texture is coming up to be visible now. But it doesn't do the thing I was doing on the skin where I was adding shadows. So a wash is kind of better at creating texture than it is at doing light and shadow. I mean, just a basic applied like this wash, at least. If you kind of, what I'm going to do when this dries is come in with like a targeted wash in the areas that should be darker due to receiving less light. And then we will hopefully get the best of both worlds. A long time ago, I do not remember which episode. Actually, I think it was over a series of episodes, but I'm not 100% sure. I painted a couple of snake people. Snake little swordsman. I think it was on the channel. Do you remember, Wendy? And I did one where I just did this step on the scales, and another one where I went in and I did this targeted wash. I cannot show you these comparison miniatures anymore because the one with the more than just a wash was my miniature that got stolen at ReaperCon. But I do want to do that again. I'm going to have to try to figure out if I did do that on stream. If I didn't, that would be a good thing to do on stream because a cylinder is a really nice shape to show the concept of adding shadows and highlights to illustrate what they call form, which is 3D shapes. Butts 1000. I find I use ebony flesh a lot for various things. Yellow T-square. Yes. Same. It's such a useful color. Yes, and so I use this instead of black in the Layer Up Learn to Paint kit, and I was really impressed because I test the colors before I do the rest of the kit, and in testing I was really impressed with how well it worked as a shadow for the other colors that were in the set, because I was trying to make, reduce duplication of colors. While that is drying, we can at least start to think about the blue. So what blues do I have in this set? Let's find out. Although I guess his little, I don't know. With mouse links, who knows? I guess I need to do this undergarment before I do. I'm going to paint it as though this hood and the cloak are a single unit of cloth, or made from the same material at least. Well, now here's a question. Is this arm furry? Or is it like the same color as this thing? I think we're going to paint it the same color as the tunic. We're going to call it a tunic. But my guess is that you could paint that as fur if you wanted. So I need a tunic color as well as a cloak color and then a scarf color. And I think I'm going to be, this is a reset area. It's like not part of the main story of the miniature. So I'm going to pick something boring on purpose. And I'm just going to go with gray, I think. I don't know if I want a warm gray. I think she might be dreaming again. Let's go back to, we'll go back to the kitty cam. They are funny when they dream. Their little feet go, and sometimes they're chewing on something in their dreams. So I'll do gray, but I'm going to kind of make it a bluey gray that will sort of integrate with the cloak, we hope. Okay, I definitely have to go through these paints that have been just sitting there upside down for a while. The problem with that paint, well, there's two problems. So I got this paint case for them. Here, let's see if I can get it under the camera. So I wanted to be able to keep the paints, the Learn to Paint colors separate, because this is beyond the kit. So I want to be able to always reference the kit colors, and when I do stuff like this, just use those and mix whatever else I need from them. So I wanted to have like a separate set of those that I could keep. And I had like this box, and they didn't quite fit in the box. It was super annoying. It's like, all right, 5 of them don't fit in the box. But then, so I started looking on Amazon for alternatives. And I thought that, I think it's for essential oils, is how they advertise it. And I thought that seemed good. My reservation, well, no, I didn't have reservations. But now that I've been using it, what I don't like is you can't tell from the outside which side is which. I need to just like slap a sticker on there or something. But I've never been one of those people that like stickers things a lot or whatever. And I should probably get over that because I have a lot of cool stickers. So that is a solvable problem. But in the end, I don't like that the lid is attached. And I would far rather that it was not. And you could take the lid off and put it off to the side. I don't want to make this gray too blue. But just as, so that's like a cooler gray. Example paper out again. And then if we look at the mountain stone that is in the kit. Talking to yourself, boo-boo? You're fine. Okay. Well, can we look at the mountain stone that is in the kit? Because it doesn't want to be looked at. Which is a color I like a lot. I like it for painting more natural things. This is cloth. It's not natural. It's man-made. So I go the other way. So when people talk about warm and cool, it's not always as blatant as, you know, blue versus orange. It can be gray with a little bit of blue or gray with a little bit of brown. Although now I'm thinking, nah, I think I want real blue for that. The thief would really have colors more like this probably, but this is where, do I want it to be cool to look at, or do I want it to be more authentic as a character? And if you think about it, the function of miniatures is to be looked at, right? Like that is their purpose. Sometimes that might be they're meant to be looked at on a map or some other game aid. But, you know, overall, that is the function of a miniature, is whether it's, you know, a fancy diorama for a contest or a gift, or, you know, a tool to help you visualize a combat scenario. It is meant to be looked at. So when you're wrestling with that, do I do the thing the character would do, or do I do the thing that looks cool? I think you kind of got to default to the thing that looks cool, because the function of the miniature is to be looked at. How are you making crunching noises? Okay. No answer to that question. This one chews too, like a lot. I had to, she was wandering around my desk and looking for books and paper, anything that was poking out, she was starting to chew it. And I'm like, this is not great. So we now have Tabby's chewing box, which is, she likes to sit in a cardboard box, but then she will sit in it or beside it and chew on the box. So when I get a box that's the right size, because she did some serious damage to the first, I can't quite reach it from here, but she chewed off a lot of the first one that I gave her. So I was trying out an upgrade. It's a bit bigger. I don't know if she feels like it's too big to jump in. These cats are not great jumpers. It's kind of hilarious. Like, some of the things cats are supposed to be good at, they did not get the memo. I watched one of them pull one of these, you know, funny video moves the other day. She was trying to jump from the bed to the dresser, and we have like a tiny bedroom. This is not a vast distance. And so, like, this is the dresser, this is the bed, and she does this. She didn't fall like on her head or anything. She just, like, she didn't even get close to the dresser. It was, yeah, okay. You're just not great at this. Which is fine. I don't need them climbing all over the place. We put up a lot of stuff before they got here, because it's been like 7 years since we had, you know, a young crazy cat wandering around. And Corbin was, you know, he would go places, but he was pretty good about, like, not knocking stuff around or whatever. Like, he wasn't out to destroy things or throw them off shelves. He just wanted to explore. But no, I know you want to explore too, but not this. Not here. My cat you greet loves to staple plastic. Okay, I have questions too, so does Penry. Zachariah, my best jumper had only one eye. Wow, that is interesting. Hi, I know that you're so bored. You're the most bored cat that ever existed in the history of ever. I mean, I don't think your story is very plausible, but you're sticking to it. I might just use rainy gray instead of white for the next parts. Quindy, she punctures holes with her canines that look like staple holes. This one actually, like, she'll do that, but then she'll also, like, just rip pieces off and then play with the little pieces of cardboard. She doesn't eat them. So that's why she gets a chewing box. They won't even, like, jump up the wall. Like, you're playing with the feather or the light or something, and I'll try putting it a little bit up the wall, and it's like, it's a distance that they could go on their back feet and touch it. And they won't. They're like, no, it's too much. It's too much. Meanwhile, Corbin, so you say this is the wall here. This is the wall, and I had a little decoration hanging like about here. When he was their age and size, he could jump up and knock that thing down. Like, I had to take a few things down off the wall because he could jump so much higher than we thought. Like, he very athletic, and he still can jump way higher than either of these two. Because I'll put the red dot up on the wall for him, and he'll go up way higher than they will. I mean, I appreciate that they know their limits and they're not out there trying to do stuff that they aren't coordinated enough to do. But it's hilarious. I used to joke with my cat Ella that white cats can't jump, but apparently I'm going to have to change that to tortoiseshells can't jump. Alright, so it does look like that wash on the fur brought out the texture pretty nicely. I mean, we're still going to put some lighter color on it. But I'm going to finish up this gray bit. I think that for reaching, it would be better. Zachariah's one-eyed cat would jump from the floor, boost from the counter, and then wall walk to the top of the cabinets in the kitchen, up about 8 feet total. Wow. I'm glad that I've had cats that get up there, like both Archer and Corbin made it to the top of the cabinets, and then they were kind of like, well, okay, but why? It's boring up here. And I'm like, yes, it's boring up there. Stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. So happily, they do not. I don't think these guys will ever think about it. There's one thing in the kitchen that's like it's a freestanding cabinet. It's like a shelf thing that we had somewhere else, and then we were getting so many cat supplies that we were like, why don't we just kind of turn this into the cat pantry, so the humans can have the human pantry back. And he can get up there because it's like the counter with the toaster oven is there, and I'll go on the toaster oven and I'll get up there, and it's like, well, we'd really rather that you didn't because it's not attached to anything. So, I mean, I guess all the canned food should hopefully be weighing it down, but we'd still rather he didn't. So we try to always have enough paper towel and toilet paper packages that we can block that area and make it look like it's inaccessible to him. But we are very low right now. It's like, okay, we have to go buy toilet paper and paper towels to, visually distract the cat. Not because we need them. I mean, it's good to have them, but that's not the reason we're going to run out to the store and do that. Look, more cat hairs. Excellent. Everyone is relieved to discover that Quindy's cat isn't using a stapler to attach pieces of plastic together. And I agree. I don't think we need cats with staplers in the world. That can't go well for humans. Go too nuts on this part. It's not that essential to the story, but you want to add a little bit of detailing with things. Well, okay, how would I put that? When we were talking about contest feedback, It's not that everything has to be painted to the exact same standard, because that's actually boring. That ends up being visually boring if you do that. That is a mistake that I make frequently, and that's one of the reasons my stuff can be boring. But at the same time, you want to remember that, places like this are not a, that interesting part of the story of the figure, and not put a lot of contrast in those areas. So it's not that you need massive contrast on everything, but you do need to kind of demonstrate that this section has some, 3Dness. Now, what I didn't do here actually is lining. So around his leg too, or her. I don't think I've decided about this mouse. And this is the tough lining because both sides of the line matter. Get a few other spots in preparation for painting other areas of the miniature. Oh, maybe this little part above the belt is part of his gray outfit too. I'm glad I spotted it now. Normally, I would not notice until it was much later in the proceedings. And yeah, that arm has a little bracelet as well. A nice bracelet too. Well, okay, I guess it's probably a, well, now I can't remember the word. More of an armor piece than a decorative piece. But then, I always figure if you're a thief, you probably want to enjoy some of the rewards of your labor. I would wear a few fancy things if I was a thief. In this kind of world, I mean. And obviously a tail should be skinned too, but I just got paint on it there, and that would likely continue to be the case. So I'm not going to worry about that until later. I'm going to hopefully remember this, but also, it's not the end of the world if skin is slightly different from one part of the body to the other, because that is really how that works. Oh, well, if kitties aren't going to amuse us, we'll go back to the palette cam. I'm really surprised that her sister hasn't come to sleep there, because she loves to sleep on that thing beside me. But she probably went to one of her other sleepy spots. Yellow T-Squared. This stream is making me want to organize a group to play the Mouse Guard RPG again. That does sound fun. I love the look of the Mouse Guard world so much. I think I saw it. So I follow the artist David Peterson on Facebook, and he recently posted a picture of a Mouse Guard magic card. And apparently there are 5, so I guess it's going to be one of those secret lair drops that are like crazy expensive and insane. But it's like just when you thought that they had done all the weird licensing things that it would be possible to do, because of Lord of the Rings and, oh god, I can't even remember all the stuff lately. Like, they've just been doing a ton of those licensing things. It's like, okay, did not see mouse guard coming. I will admit that. Will I be tempted? Yes, but I'm going to try not to be tempted. I might just actually paint the belt in blue liner since he's kind of got like a blue theme going for his outfit. And I would want it to be dark to kind of be in between the other things. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and slap that blue liner on now. But let's address the fur before I get further on with the clothes. Yellow T-square. I think I saw a set of those cards with the Mountain Goats, the indie band tie-in. Okay. On the one hand, surprising. On the other hand, the lead singer is a giant nerd. Huh. And Zachariah and Pendrake are pointing out that David Peterson streams on Twitch too. So if you love mouse card or like, you know, this kind of thing, but 2D art and you would enjoy watching him draw, check that out on Twitch. Does he ever do anything with like maquettes and stuff? I mean, probably not because how you'd have to do the setup. But it's interesting and it's one of the examples, like, because we're about to, you know, do some shading on this fur to bring out the shapes. So it's not just about the texture, it's about the shapes. And one of the examples I talk to about people when I'm trying to explain that using references, like I do on the show sometimes, is good for miniature painters too, is that even though he's drawing comics, he's drawing completely made up things that are just lines, he will do, yeah, he has the Yellow T-square sets. He makes mock-ups of sets. I don't know if I've ever seen maquettes though. Yeah, I meant more than mock-ups of sets. James Gurney will do maquettes and sculptures and stuff for when he's doing paintings of like dinosaurs and stuff. But David Peterson will make the environment sometimes, especially if it's like a complex building, so that he can figure out how to draw it. Like he has to be able to see it to figure out how to draw it, and that's why we use reference. Because it's going to feel more authentic and like a space that could really exist when you do stuff like that. All right, so I was using the ebony flash. Wow, my paint is really drying out fast. That's interesting. But I had mixed, so that was the original color. I had mixed a little bit of the woodland brown in. So now for my second more targeted wash, I'm not going to mix any of that in because I want to make some areas a little darker. But I want to check that I've got, you know, decent transparency. I'm not adding too much paint. So now I want to think about the, you know, where is the light thing? So, you know, under his little chubby cheeks should have a bit more darkness, you know, where the legs are rolling away from the viewer. And he doesn't really have, like, the hands are too small to need to do this. But if it was a whole arm, you know, the underside of the arm as a cylinder would also get this kind of treatment. Get a little bit in between the toes. And then to make this less scary seeming than layering, what I can do is just come back with a damp brush and add a little water where the line of wet paint ends, and on textured stuff in particular. So I'll make a messy application of that brown here, but I'm essentially going to, you know, thin the wash on the figure and work that in. So this is a bit more challenging on, you know, trying to do that on smooth shapes like the cloak. Honestly, to me at that point, it's just easier to layer. But it's a good way to start kind of getting down the idea of layering if you are feeling intimidated about it, is to try, you know, grab a wolf or a snake person with the scales. So there's another where I think we can See the line pretty well. I'll just come back and just work along that edge a little bit. I just heard a kitty shaking, but I think she's in her... There's a cat bed under my computer desk that is Tabby's, one of Tabby's favorite places to sleep. So I think she went over. There's probably too much light over here. She really seems to like it a little darker. I'll just get a little bit around the eyes. Make them a little more intense. He's very intense. Very focused on the current goal. Just a little bit in between these fingers. And maybe also these fingers. Pendrake, he does things that are other than Mouse Guard. That is true. He does some cool things. I think he did some Teenage Mutant Ninja covers recently for those comics. And Pendrake also says uses references when he does mashup creatures. Butts 1000. James Gurney will make maquettes as well. Pendrake. Recently he did a draw along of a cactus crane dragon. Oh, that's... Yeah, he's been doing... like a whole series of dragons where it'll be a mashup like that, where it's like a thing, and then how do you turn that into a dragon? Butts 1000. This morning I sketched a mini and then played a bit with colored pencils. I need more pencils though. Yeah, colored pencils are kind of like miniature paints in that you can mix them, but it can also be very convenient to just have a whole bunch of different pre-mixed colors. But you can mix them like by layering one over the other. Which, I mean, you can also do with miniature painting. But, like for glazing. So, you know, you could have like a yellow glaze and you put blue over it, it would look green. I mean, if you had a yellow paint job and then you put blue over it, it would look green. It's probably dark enough. I guess we could get just a little bit of that ebony flesh. Go under the cheeks just a little more. In there just a little bit. Really make them look like chipmunk cheeks. And now I need to highlight a little. I do probably want to start with the original color since the wash will have slightly tinted everything. And I may even start with a lighter color on these parts where I'm mixing a bit of the shadow color in and then going on the parts that I added the darker wash colors on to bring out the fur there too. It's not as important to add the texture in areas that are supposed to be deeply shadowed. We don't see details as well in shadow areas. But since that's like not exactly like under a cloak or something, I figured there should be a little bit of texture there. But I'm not quite as worried about the side of the feet. And then I'll go to the original woodland brown. And I'm just doing side brushing rather than dry brushing. I could get out one of those dry brushes that I've been using a lot lately. But the area is small enough, and honestly, I'd really kind of rather apply more deliberately, especially down here since I already painted the tunic. Let me know in the chat if the focus is... If the little guy's staying in focus, because I think I moved kind of the height of the camera that affects that, and it's hard to... I mean, it's not always going to stay in focus because the camera has to decide, do I want to be here or do I want to be here? But if it's hopefully, you know, it's hopefully when there's more flat areas that it's keeping focus on the stuff we want to see, that would be great. But otherwise I might need to, I might have it so it's too close to my face now. There's like a optimal distance away from the miniature that it needs to be. Get a little bit of that golden brown back on the hand. Then I picked the amber gold to lighten up the woodland brown. We look at them together. This is why I like doing these swatch things. I can be pretty sure that's going to work. I could go the other way, like this woodland brown. You can even use it as an alternate skin color, in my opinion. So it tends to mix nicely with skin colors. But since this figure also has some flesh color areas, I want to maintain more of a separation between those, and I don't want to. So I like the idea of going a little more yellow because I had the skin more pink. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water because the paints on my palette are drying up a little, I think. Zachariah, we did a full set of swatches at Paint Club. Makes it a lot easier to find the paints you want for all current lines of paint in the Master Series paint lines. So you've got swatches for all the paints that you could possibly use at Paint Club. That is awesome. I love it. $385. I'm pretty sure that my bottle swatches are... I mean, it's probably more than 800 paints at this point. It's probably closer to 900. I did a count because we can tell sort of from how many are on the shelf how many paints I must have. It did take a hot minute, and I have no regrets. So yeah, I may need to come back down even a little more with that woodland brown in the shadow areas, I think, because it just, on camera it looks more stark than it does to my eye, but it's definitely a little, I might have overdone the shadows, but that's fine. We can fix it. We have the technology. And usually I like the face to be a bit lighter, go up to lighter highlights than the rest of the limbs and things, because the face is the focus. Zachariah, you've likely got special edition samples, etc. Yes, and then there was the Heavy Gear line of paints. That was a licensed thing, so eventually that wasn't available anymore, and it had some nice colors. And well, I don't know if you put Pathfinder out at Paint Club, which is still available, but maybe you don't have a Paint Club. I don't know. So I have that one. I mean, I have a few non-Reaper paints too. Just a few, but I do have a few. And then yes, I have all the special edition paints, but 2, I think. Anne assures me they aren't nice colors, but I know that I don't have. No, I'm kidding. I'm trying to. Well, okay, maybe not with paint, but in general, I'm trying to have a healthier attitude about collecting and all the things and that kind of stuff, because we need to get some stuff out of our house, and I'm trying to reconcile myself to the idea that it's not just about whether the object is usable or valuable or any of that. It's like, are you using it? Am I using this thing, or is it taking up space in my house that is preventing me from using other things? which is more accurately the case. And that is why I need to move some stuff on. Because it's hard. I think we have all these like kind of sort of natural impulses and then also cultural impulses to keep and acquire things and fewer to get things out of your house. Because, you know, having too many things has not exactly been a problem for most people in most of history. So it's like it's painful sometimes. All right. The face seems very stark on the film. Film. Yes, I'm running a film camera right here. I am not. But I'm going to put a little back on that woodland brown. I don't want to go too yellow. They do include Pathfinder at the store. And they put the swatches in little baskets and organize them by color. So when you're looking for a blue, you look in the blue section, and then you place like sections next to each other. So red basket, gray basket is what Pendrake's asking. So they have MSP Core, MSP Bones, Pathfinder sets, and some samples in special colors. Think columns of 2x2 swatch cards in an FDM plastic box basket. It looks a lot like a file card system. Our prototype has the SKU and a paint swatch. We believe the final version should have a SKU, the paint swatch, and the scannable barcode for each of building palettes in phone apps. Oh, a scannable barcode. And then also if you want to go buy that one, that's easy too. After you use it, which I'm sure happens on occasion. Sometimes you can't tell how cool a color is until you sit down and use it. Like there were colors way back in the day when it was the pro paints. It was little bottles of paint. I don't have one handy. I used to use them like these things even. So I'd have to, when I first started, I'd have to pick a color that I wasn't going to use on that miniature, and that was for the paint holder. So I think there were 56 of them. Maybe a little more. And our store had like the whole rack. So I got some of them in Learn to Paint kits. And then, you know, every few weeks I'd go in and add a color or two. And like one of the last colors that I bought has ended up, and it's still in, it's Shield Brown. It's still in the line because it's one of these, it looks super boring. But that's what's great about it. If you've got a lot of color going on, but this guy's got like some leather belt or boots or something, it's like, okay, this color is not gonna add more noise to the miniature. I can get the, you know, get that part painted and move on. All right, I think I'm ready for the cloak. And I do feel like painting the cloak before I paint the tail would be a good plan. I don't know if we're going to get all the way. So these are the blues that are in the Learn to Paint kit and accessories. This is a very, it's one of these ones where that swatch helps you, because when you see it in the dark, you know, full strength version, you may not realize just how blue that is. So I don't know that this is Thiefly. And if I don't paint it blue enough, we've got that as a backup. This is not the paint, and this is not Reaper. This is just the kind of blue that I personally find boring. I think it's because my parents were super into boats, so we had like a lot of blue stuff, and they were always like pushing blue things. But I feel like this is a nice kind of Thiefly color combo. So I'll probably go with that, and then if we need to punch up the blue volume, got the Void Blue for later. That is my theory anyway. So I probably want kind of half and half. Switch this. Half and half of these to start with. Zachariah used the old Pro Paint little tubs And I still have some. Like, not a lot. I ended up deciding that, I had to part with some of them. But there were a couple of colors that I was like, no, I'm going to keep that. And they are a little harder for maintenance, I guess, because of the wide. They're more likely to get thickened up before I remember to go do my paint. Rehabilitation thing. Yellow T-Square is asking whether Zachariah has seen some of the templates that watercolor painters use for making their swatch cards. They'll often have things like a black strip to paint over so you can test the opacity, coverage, little spaces to check off staining versus non-staining, etc. So some of what watercolor people are looking at is not that relevant to us. Like, we don't have granulation, and that's like big in watercolors. And the staining versus non-staining, for the most part, that doesn't matter to us either. Like, all acrylic paint is permanent. So for watercolor, when you paint on a piece of paper, a non-staining color, I can take the damp brush and I'll be able to lift it up. And so if I need to make that area lighter, that's a valid way to do it. But if you have a staining color, you're never going to get it as light. Like, some colors will almost go back to the original paper color, like that non-staining. But then the staining colors, you can't do that with. So because of how you paint in watercolor painting, it is very useful to know that kind of thing. It's not that it's like bad to do that. I'm not sure if off the top of my head I can think of a reason. But opacity and coverage is something we definitely care about in our sector of things. And for my swatches, that I ended up using I have no idea what this number code is, but I use that. And so I'll put paint straight out of the bottle here, but like really glop it up as much as I can to make a solid square. And then I'll just take the brush and swipe down that little thing with what would be like a normal brush lobe. And that kind of gives me an idea about the opacity. But doing it with the black line, there's even, when Yellow T-Square is talking about templates, there's, like, I've seen stamps you can get, so you'd be able to make your cards with stamps. So it wouldn't have to be like a huge space thing. Because some people in the watercolor world like it the way you've done it, where it's a freestanding thing. And, well, not just the watercolor world, swatch land in general. People who do swatches. Some people like it as individual swatches, so you can get them out and you can, work on your color scheme using just the swatches. And then some people would prefer to have it like in a book where they kind of have it's all there and it can't go anywhere, sort of thing. So there's a diversity of ways to do swatches, like very much a diversity of ways to do swatches. And a diversity of what you're checking for with swatches. So the darkest color is blue liner. I think I had some of the Storm Chaser blue in it, in the brush when I was adding a bit of water. But it's not gonna... I can totally see a place with bare gray plastic that I missed originally. Because sometimes it's a little indentation where it kind of goes down. And this is where having the brush with the little hook point that normally you hate. Normally we hate the hook point. This is where it comes in handy. Because I'm able to get into that spot. Except I have a brand new brush. And I haven't made the hook point yet. And we're just going to rely on people not to turn him over again. Oh no, I'm making it worse now. But I love to screw up on screen. So that you can see me attempt to deal with it. Alright, I screw up a lot and I rationalize it. Maybe that's what's happening. Zachariah decided not to use the kind of templates that Yellow T-Square was talking about due to space constraints and our usage model. We built the swatches for ease of comparing colors quickly and finding them quickly on the rack. Plus, we are going to also use the swatches, which we put magnets on the back of, for a proof of concept elemental table of paint swatches, so people would be viewing it at a different distance. Oh, that sounds fun. That's like something you could make a poster out of. That's fun. That might actually be too light. This is one of those things where sometimes things are going to look different on the palette. Then, yeah, see that? This is a rogue. Like, I don't really want them wandering around in a sky blue cloak. I want them to have a little bit of the, you know, when I'm choosing between the personality or the character job and what looks cool, I need to choose something that still evokes the character. So I probably want to go a little darker than that. I'm going just straight up Storm Chaser. Which is, yeah, I like this kind of blue. Blue is one of those colors I have opinions about, I guess. Like, I like a lot of different greens. They're all, you know, like some kind of rotting khaki type greens. They aren't necessarily pretty to look at, but they're very useful. But they're, if there's a color that I don't paint as much of, it's blue. It's just straight up blue. I mean, I guess I don't do a lot of orange and yellow, but I feel like I don't know, like I don't know. I feel like people don't just wander around wearing a lot of yellow clothing as a rule, I guess. Even today. So it's like it doesn't come up as much as a lot of other colors do. Definitely gonna need more Storm Chaser. Pendrake likes blue. Most people do like blue. I'm weird, and like I said, it's probably because, you know, when your parents tell you to do a thing, then you always want to do the opposite thing. But you know, you make a blue a little bit purple, or you make it a little bit green, and then I'm in. It's just like straight up blue. Zachary, I was thinking about making a poster out of it. Very cool. I wrestle sometimes with how to, you know, when you have multiple colors and you're organizing them, like, which way do you do it? Because if you do like yellow, orange, red, then like where does green go? Unless you're in a circle and you can have blue and then green. There's always going to be a color that, you know, what should this be standing next to? Now, I didn't worry about that for my shells because some of my shells, it's really, there's more light in some parts of the room than others. So I wanted to put colors that it's harder to, you know, that have more subtle differences in the better lit sections. So color families are grouped together, but the way families are organized is more about how much space they take up or how much light I can get on that section or need to get on that section. Whereas, you know, metallics, I don't use those a lot, so they can be in the most shadowed area, and they're a little more obvious. When you pick them up and look at the swatches, they're usually pretty obvious. But that was one of those questions I would get a lot from people. Like sometimes I'd have friends text me and go, well, how should I organize my paints? Should it be by SKU? Should it be by color family? Should it be by this? And I did end up writing a blog post on this when I reorganized my paints. And I probably should write an update because I have revised my organization slightly. But really, the short answer is what works for you. If you're the kind of person who thinks of the paints in SKU numbers, then like do that. Especially if you have swatches and you can look at the colors however you want, where you actually put the paints on a shelf or a spinner or whatever, in a tub, whatever storage method you're using. The goal is whichever method it's easiest for you to find what you're looking for quickly. Like that's all. There's no master plan. Like my old organization system was just mental, because it's like I had a couple of spinner racks and then I got another one and then I got a tier rack, and it was like, so this color was here and those colors, and I knew where everything was because this had evolved gradually as the number of paints I had evolved gradually at that time. You don't get to an insane number of paints overnight as a rule. And I would get really thrown off if a paint wasn't where it was supposed to be. Like that's how much I knew where everything was. If I put something back wrong, it might as well just have been lost. And I would have to go buy another one. And then, like months later, I'd be like, oh, you're over here. Why are you over here? I would never find you there. But then I moved rooms and I moved storage systems, and I was kind of doing an insane number of paints from scratch. And that was harder than having the chaos system, having a system where I felt like I was imposing order, but I had not grown accustomed to it over time. Was actually harder than figuring out the chaos system. So what I revised in my system recently is I had first gone just broad color families and then rough value from light to dark. So the greens were, khaki and slime and emerald and bright green. Like it was just all the greens in one big line from light to dark. And the same as with so brown was essentially just one. It's two nail polish racks were brown from top to bottom. Well, brown and gray. My neutrals rack, I guess. And I didn't have a lot of trouble finding the colors I want, but figuring out where to put them back was weirdly, it'd be like, one time I'd put it here, one time I'd put it there. So I'm like, I think I have to subdivide. I have to have, the vivid greens, and then the less saturated greens. And then I think I have the 3 purples. So there's like reddish purple, bluish purple, and desaturated purples. And I'm working on the whole gray brown nightmare shelf right now, where I'm gonna group it up slightly differently so that it's going to be easier to find, and then especially put away those colors and hopefully then be able to find them again, because I put them on the shelf with the swatches facing out. So then the challenge I have is if somebody's like, I'm trying to find a paint by the name or number, that's actually harder in my world because of how I've done the thing. I guess for his stones, though, we do probably want a warmer gray. And is this black? Just start off darker. Crevices at least. Zachariah grouped metallics together because they were metallics. So how many people were going in on this project? Did you get all the swatches done up in like a day because there were so many people helping, or it was still a project that took a bit of a time? And to anyone who's listening who might be considering doing swatches and then is like, oh my God, it's going to take forever and be a pain in the butt, it's also a great opportunity to run maintenance on your paints, which is probably something that most of us don't do frequently enough. So it gives you a chance to, you're dispensing all of them because you have to get some paint out of the bottle to make a swatch. And that's giving you an opportunity to see if something's thickening up and needs to have some water added. So you will get a double benefit from what is actually, I mean, it's a not inconsiderable amount of work to do. It did take me a while, but I just did it, over time. It's a nice thing to do when you're like, you want to do something hobby, but everything seems too complicated or hard. You don't want to make decisions. You just kind of want to sit and not have to think about stuff so much. It's nice for that kind of thing too. That is how I got a lot of my swatches done. Were days when I'm like, wow, I want to just sit and have some TV running in the background or whatever. But I don't actually feel like painting whatever it is I'm supposed to be working on right now. What a great time it would be to swatch. But it is well worth doing. And it's absolutely one of those things that, like, the majority of people who work with color will tell you to swatch your materials, and then a lot of us do not listen. But I really, once I finally did it, I was like, man, I wish I had done this sooner. My best friend took it a day at a time. She helps with Paint Club. I was moral encouragement, and I also did the sorting of the colors. So we had them sorted darkest light value to lightest color within each color range. Totoro, my friend, said that painting the swatches turned into a very relaxing thing to do. Yeah, it's pretty low pressure. Sometimes a task that's kind of repetitive and doesn't take a lot of brain power is just what you want. I know some people who will do like miniature assembly in that way. They got like armies and stuff, and when they don't feel up to painting, they enjoy, cutting them off. All that stuff I did at the beginning. If you weren't here at the beginning, this little guy started out on sprues. I mean, not the same number of sprues that would be like an army guy, but on a few little sprues, and I cut it off and glued it on stream. So if you're wondering about tools I use for various things like that, go back and watch the video on demand, or watch it on Reaper's YouTube channel when it gets posted there. And I talked about the glue I like and the files I like, and the clippers I like for getting things off of the sprues. And then how I do those things. Then I demonstrated how not to use a knife. Man, that blue still isn't dry. Well, maybe it's a good time to paint that little pouch. What color do we paint that little pouch? So sometimes what I like to do when you're doing the, oh my gosh, here's another thing, what color do I paint the thing? Because I think we've all been there. Is look at the colors I've already used and see if there's a way to combine them in a different way. So I used these colors to paint the skin, or the fur. If I take this out of the equation and I mix these two together, I will get stuff that should match the rest of what I've done, because it has some of those same colors in it, but it will, my guess is, be less saturated and kind of a, boring leather pouch kind of color. So yes, we compare this to the original fur color by taking out the one in the middle and mixing the two extremes. That's a pretty reliable way to get something that is not going to, you know, there's like no orange in here. So it's not going to seem the same, but because it contains those same colors, it should integrate or harmonize or wherever you want to put that. Because I know that's part of the challenge when you start trying to do stuff with color schemes, and you'll look something up and it'll be like, okay, so red, blue, yellow is a color scheme. And you're like, great, but I've got like 17 areas on this guy that I'm supposed to paint. That is one of the ways you handle that. So I'm using my red, blue, yellow. Well, okay. Right now I'm not red, blue, yellow. We're orange, blue for the color complement. And then there's a little pink in there. So in theory I can use, you know, maybe if I shift the stones on the base a little bit green. Because essentially when you're dealing with, I think they call it tetradic. I think the color schemes with 4 colors are tetrads or tetradic color schemes. But really it's 2 color complements. I mean, there's one additional rule of it, but if you're doing 2 color complements, you are unlikely to run afoul of that rule. So don't worry about it, is what I would say. Okay, here, let me grab my color wheel and demonstrate the rule. All right, so if you have one of these, it's nice because it shows you tetrads. So you got the square and the rectangle. So what you will notice is that, well, no, it's always going to be that way. There's no tetrad where there are 2 that are right next to each other. So it skips one or 2. So the square, there are 2 other colors in between, and in the rectangle, there's a spot where there's just one, and then a spot where there are more. But basically, if we look at what I'm talking about, and so we got the blue, and the orange, and red. I need to see if I can line it up, so I've got blue and orange and red. And there we go. The rectangle does it. So I've got blue, red, orange, and green is the other color I get. Or I just have the 2 complements. I have blue and orange, and I have red and green. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know about you, but when I was first learning to paint, I stressed myself out about color stuff like that way more than was warranted. There's no it always works option for colors because color's kind of personal as well as, you know, whatever it says on that piece of paper. People, like, I'm just a weird person who doesn't love blue. Like, how are you supposed to account for that? You paint something blue and you've got Pendrake who's over there loving blue, and then you got me who's over here going, blue, I could do without it. Like, you can't win that. Like, there's no way to make both of us happy in that scenario. So you don't try to do that. You don't try to find colors that will make a perfect, amazing thing that everyone is going to love, because there's no such thing. But the kind of those guidelines on the color wheel can help you find colors that at least it's going to harmonize. It's not going to, you know, like, maybe I won't love that it's blue, but if all the colors on it are working together, I will still be able to look at it as a successful meeting. I'm just not going to go, wow, I love the color on that cloak so much. Maybe. I mean, okay, you're going to have jerky people that will be like, oh, you didn't paint the right guy or the right color or whatever. But, you know, we can't solve for jerky people. That's a different problem. All right, I don't know if Queenie has to pee again, but I see that it's after 5. And I started a little late, so I don't want to. I want to make sure that I do my full 2 hours, but we probably should start wrapping up. That's interesting. This storm shadow looks like it might be a little bit shiny, which could just be my bottle. Maybe I need to stir it. Quindy always has to pee again. Oh, thank goodness it's not just me. I'm like, you know, I'm always going to be the person who makes you stop the car on the road trip. I usually drive when I'm on a road trip, so I get to stop the car whenever I want, but I would whine if I wasn't that person. So it's a little bit shiny. Next time I paint the sky, I will try to remember to do the second coat with anti-shine additive. Just a little tiny wafer thin mint of that. Unless I decide that, hey, this is a leather cloak, so actually it kind of fits in. I could also make that decision. So I don't have a cat in cam view, and I don't know if I can. Maybe I can move that camera back. No, I wedged it in pretty good. So I'm just gonna have to continue being a disembodied voice, and Quindy will find us a raid, and I don't think there's a holiday or anything next Monday, so I should be back next Monday. I probably should sit down with Quindy one day and find out what the official holidays are, because it always seems to come as a shock to me that. How did it get so shiny? No, it's just that color. I mean, no, there isn't some that's still wet. Let's go ahead and do this. It might just be this mix. Like they have to put some of that stuff in the. You know, when they're making the paint, they have to put some of that stuff in, and it could just be that when this particular batch was made, they didn't put in quite enough, or that their container of that stuff was not shaken well, because that's the one thing about this stuff is you got to shake the crap out of it. And also seal it, because it's literal little flakes down there. Quinny says Reaper holidays are not always the same as my office. Yeah, every state is different. Well, maybe we should just hunt Justin down and make him tell us. And in the vein of being conservative with this stuff, I'm not going to put it in a drop of paint. I'm going to put it to the side, like how I did with the glue. Or I'm not ever going to be able to get it out of the bottle. So anti-shine medium or matting agent is literal little particles of stuff. And this is also what's in brush on sealer that makes it not be shiny, because by nature, the binder of acrylic paint is a little bit shiny. So you have to add stuff if you want acrylic paint to be not shiny. And then some pigments are shiny. So a paint will be extra shiny if it's an acrylic paint with a shiny pigment in it. And so the amount of this, matting agent that you add to a batch is not going to be uniform for every color of paint. So I don't think, because you look at my swatch is not as shiny as that. So hopefully the stirring helped. We'll do a very quick little test. So I will paint the back right ear with the paint that I shook up, or stirred actually. Stirring is better than shaking. Like always. I have one of those fancy lab things. Just the stuff that happens in the dropper bottle means that you're gonna get better results stirring. Alright, so that's that side. And then the other side, I will take the original pool that I had and put some of this stuff in. And you do want to be conservative with this. That might even be too much. Because when you spray seal and you get a frosted effect? That's this stuff. That's too much of this stuff being in the same place at the same time. paint the left ear with that. And I won't paint the cloak at all right now. So we'll have the original coat and then 2 modified coats for comparison. Although this will take a minute. Now we're just torturing Quinn. But the other thing I will mention, and I wonder if I have something I don't care about. Well, we can test on the, and we can do this on. So if we look at the base, nice and super matte, right? This gray. Well, okay, the paint is too fresh. This isn't going to work. I need something with old paint. I'm thinking, I think I do have some miniatures around somewhere. All right, yeah, let's do it this drawing. That won't matter. All right. Made me think about needing to pee and everything. Yes, I'm a horrible person, but you know, the shine. I know people don't like to have shininess in their paint, and Reaper paint is not shiny, so I want to make sure that I demonstrate this. So, all right, I will go. So that's a nice matte scale, right? If you abrade the surface, you make it smoother, you're smoothing out that matting agent. So this is when, if you have miniatures that you've been handling in play and they're starting to get shiny, it might be that. You just need to apply your sealer coat again. So you can see that now this scale is shiny. There was matting agent in the paint, and I have erased its job by, you know, smooshing it down, essentially. Because what it is if you think about these scales, like on a microscopic level, this is smooth, shiny paint. Because, you know, the light's coming in and it's all bouncing off in a similar direction. And then you add that matting agent and it makes the light bounce off in all different directions and it makes it look matte. Zachariah, there are such things as travel pee bottles for women. I know you don't want to know this, but they exist. Queenie says that is a great way to get fired from my office job. So looking at the one I painted where I stirred the bottle, it's still a little shiny, but it's a lot less shiny than that. And this hasn't dried as much, but the one where I added the matting agent is also better than that. So I just need to add a smidge more matting agent when I do the second coat overall, but I will now release Quindy from the torture. And, well, first she has to find us a raid, but then I will release her from the torture and try to make a mental note that I have to include matting agent when I come back to this guy. And I'll see you all next Monday. We're going to raid Quantum Minis and say hi, spread the Reaper love, tell them about swatches. I'm kidding. Don't lecture people about swatches. Well, no, you can, I mean, let them know about swatches, but don't lecture. But I'll see you next time. Hopefully we'll get more cats to hang out in the cat zone. And I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.